Assam has now entered one of the most politically sensitive conversations in the country, the Uniform Civil Code. And this time, the biggest focus isn't just marriage, it's live in relationships. Because under Assam's proposed UCC bill, the government wants live in relationships to come under a legal framework, which means something very important. A relationship that has traditionally remained private could now require official recognition. And that changes the nature of the debate completely. Because supporters are calling this protection, critics are calling it surveillance, and somewhere in between is a long list of questions that still don't have clear answers. So let's first understand what we know so far. The Assam government has introduced a Uniform Civil Code bill that proposes compulsory registration of live-in relationship, meaning if two adults choose to live together outside marriage, the state may require them to officially register that relationship. Now, according to the government, the idea behind this is legal protection. Protection for women, protection in cases of abandonment, protection in inheritance disputes, and protection for children born out of such relationships. Legally, the government argues that registration creates accountability. But this proposal goes beyond just recognition. Because reports suggest that unregistered live-in relationships may not simply remain informal anymore. They could potentially become unlawful under the framework being discussed. And that's the point where the conversation becomes far more serious. Because once the state starts regulating personal relationships, the obvious question becomes, how far does that regulation go? And this is where things become unclear. Because despite the headlines, the complete operational details of the bill are still not fully public. So while we know registration is being proposed, we still don't know how it will actually work. For example, will couples have to register immediately after moving in together? Will there be a specific timeline? What documents will be required? Would address proof be needed? Would parents or family be informed? Would there be police verification? Would local authorities have access to private information? And perhaps the biggest question of all, what happens if a couple doesn't register? Will there be penalties, fine, legal consequences, or criminal liability? Right now, those details remain unclear. And that uncertainty is certainly why the debate is growing louder. Because a law is not judged only by its intention, it's judged by its implementation. Now, supporters of the bill say this is about protecting vulnerable partners, especially women, who are often left without legal safeguards in live-in relationships. And legally, that argument does carry weight. But critics are raising another concern entirely, which is privacy. Because many couples choose live-in relationships specifically to avoid social pressure, family interference, or institutional scrutiny. So if registration becomes mandatory, critics argue that the state effectively gains visibility into people's private lives. And that opens up difficult questions. Can the government track personal relationships? How much information would couples be forced to disclose? Who stores that data? Who can access it? And in a society where live-in relationships are still socially sensitive, could mandatory registration actually expose couples to more pressure instead of protection? That's the larger concern. Not just legality, but liberty. And this is important to understand. Assam is not operating in isolation here. States governed by the BJP have increasingly pushed towards state-level uniform civil codes. Uttarakhand has already passed its own UCC framework, and that law also includes provisions related to live-in relationships registration. Now, Assam appears to be moving in a similar direction, though with its own customized version. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma has officially and already clarified that tribal communities in Assam will remain outside the scope of the UCC. The government also says religious customs and rituals will not be interfered with. Apart from live-in relationships, the bill also reportedly proposes compulsory registration of marriages and divorces, a ban on polygamy, uniform marriage-related provisions, and stronger legal protections for women in inheritance and family matters. So, this isn't just one isolated reform, it's part of a much wider restructuring of personal law. So, yes, the Assam UCC Bill is being presented as a move toward uniformity and legal protection. But when it comes to live-in relationships, the biggest conversation right now isn't just about what the bill says, it's about what the bill could eventually allow. Because at the heart of this debate is a larger question. Where does legal protection end? And where does state intrusion begin? And until the government fully explains the detail, that question is going to remain at the center of this entire discussion. This is Ritu and you're watching DNA.